Hello, little one. It's time to get comfortable now. You can lie down or snuggle under your blanket and let your eyes begin to feel heavy. Tonight, I'm going to tell you a very gentle story about a small fox, a very sleepy fox, and a very special river that only shines in the quiet of the night. As you listen, you don't have to do anything at all. You can just rest and breathe and let the story carry you, like a tiny leaf floating on calm water. If you like, you can imagine that you are walking beside Sleepy Fox, paws on the soft forest path, feeling the cool night air and the safe, warm feeling inside when you know that bedtime is here and everything is calm. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Sleepy Fox can't sleep. In a quiet corner of a deep green forest, there was a small fox with soft rust-colored fur and a fluffy white-tipped tail. Everyone called him Sleepy Fox because he loved bedtime. He loved blankets and pillows and curling his tail around himself like a warm, soft scarf. But tonight, something was different. The stars were out, the moon was high, the night was gentle and still. And Sleepy Fox could not fall asleep. He lay in his den, curled up on a bed of moss and leaves, eyes closed, then open, then closed again. He listened to the quiet forest sounds, an owl calling softly, crickets singing like tiny violins, the wind whispering in the trees. It was all very peaceful, and still Sleepy Fox was awake. He wriggled his paws. He puffed out a tiny sigh. Why can't I sleep? He wondered gently, not upset, just curious and a little bit wiggly. Very slowly, he took a deep breath in, filling his small fox chest with cool night air. And very slowly, he let the breath out again, feeling his body soften just a little. He tried again, a soft breath in, a soft breath out. He felt calmer, but still, sleep did not come. A silver glow. As Sleepy Fox lay quietly in his den, he noticed something new. There, on the wall of his cozy den, was a pale, shimmery light, dancing and moving as if it were water. Sleepy Fox opened his eyes a little wider. That's strange, he thought softly. The moon is outside, but this light looks like it's flowing. The soft light rippled over the walls and the ceiling, silvery and gentle, never too bright, just the right kind of bedtime light. Sleepy Fox felt curious now, not excited in a bouncy way, just quietly interested. He stood up very slowly, stretching each leg one by one. Then he stretched his back until his tail trembled a little, and he yawned a big, slow fox yawn. He padded softly to the mouth of his den and peeked outside. The forest was calm and dark, the trees standing like tall, sleepy guards, and the stars scattered above like tiny lanterns in the sky. But down between the tree trunks, Sleepy Fox saw something beautiful. A river, quietly winding through the forest, glowing with silver light. The whole surface shimmered like a long, smooth ribbon of moonlight, twisting and turning between the trees. It looked like the night itself was flowing. That must be the Moonlit River, Sleepy Fox whispered. He had heard stories about it, told in soft voices by the older animals when the nights were very long. They said that if you walked beside the Moonlit River, it would carry away all your busy thoughts and leave your heart feeling peaceful and ready for sleep. Maybe, he thought, if I walk along the Moonlit River, it will help me fall asleep. He stepped out of his den and onto the soft forest floor. The first steps. The ground outside was cool and gentle beneath Sleepy Fox's paws. The moss was thick like a soft carpet, and the fallen leaves made a tiny sh-sh-sh sound as he walked. You can imagine taking those soft steps too, step by step, not hurrying, not rushing, just walking calmly through the peaceful night. Above him, The moon shone like a silver lantern, pouring quiet light between the branches. He breathed in the smell of pine needles, cool earth, and a little hint of distant wood smoke. With every step he took, Sleepy Fox felt a tiny bit heavier, a tiny bit softer, a tiny bit more ready for sleep. Step by step, paw by paw, he padded toward the moonlit river. The nearer he came, the brighter the soft silver glow. He could hear it now too. Not loud at all, just a gentle shh, like someone whispering a lullaby. "Hello, Moonlit River," Sleepy Fox whispered. The water glowed and swayed, a long, slow wave rolling past, as if the river were nodding back very, very slowly. Sleepy Fox stood at the edge of the river and watched the moonlight float and sway on the surface. The whole river looked like a moving mirror, carrying tiny pieces of shimmering light downstream. It was so peaceful that he felt himself relax a little more with every breath. He took a few slow steps along the bank. The ground was soft beneath his paws, cool and gentle, and the smell of water drifted through the air like a calm whisper. With every step he took, the moonlit river made its quiet sound, a soothing shh that wrapped around him like a blanket. Sleepy Fox walked, and the river flowed beside him. You can imagine walking next to him if you like, each step slow and soft, as if the earth itself were encouraging you to rest. No hurrying, no rushing, just walking through the peaceful night. Above him, the moon poured silver light through the branches of the trees. The leaves shimmered faintly, as though tiny stars were sleeping inside them. Each time Sleepy Fox breathed in, he caught the scent of pine, cool earth, and a faint trace of wood smoke carried from somewhere deeper in the forest. Everything felt calm and kind. With each step, Sleepy Fox felt a little heavier, a little softer, a little more ready for sleep. Step by step, paw by paw, he padded along the moonlit river's path. The nearer he came to a bend in the river, the brighter the silver glow became. He could hear the water more clearly too, still gentle, always gentle, like a lullaby being hummed just for him. He came to a curved branch that hung out over the river like a natural balcony. Perched on it was a shape with two large, glowing eyes. As Sleepy Fox approached, the shape shifted and blinked slowly. It was Owl, the wise bird of the forest. "Good evening, Sleepy Fox," Owl said in a deep, velvety voice that seemed to drift down from the stars. "Good evening, Owl," Sleepy Fox whispered back. "I couldn't fall asleep, so I came to walk beside the moonlit river." Owl nodded, his soft feathers rustling in the quiet air. "A wise choice," he said. "The moonlit river knows how to carry away the thoughts that make it hard to rest." Sleepy Fox looked up at Owl. "Do you walk along the river too?" "I do not walk," Owl replied, "but I sit here and listen. When my mind is busy, I imagine each thought becoming a small pebble. Then I picture dropping it into the river. The river takes it away, and silence comes back." Sleepy Fox liked this idea very much. He looked at the glowing water and thought of a tiny worry he had, something small that had bounced around in his mind all evening. He imagined picking it up in his paw like a pebble. Then, with a gentle tilt, he let it fall into the water. A soft plip. The ripples spread outward in perfect circles, then faded, then disappeared. The tiny worry drifted away with them, carried far downstream until it was gone. Sleepy Fox felt lighter inside, like a knot had loosened in his chest. "Thank you, Owl," he said softly. "You're welcome," Owl replied. "Keep walking, little fox. Let the river help you. And when you feel sleepy, that is exactly what is meant to happen." Owl settled back on his branch and grew still again, a quiet guardian watching over the river. Sleepy Fox continued his walk, paw by paw, along the glowing water's edge. The mist was beginning to rise from the river, and ahead he saw tiny yellow lights flickering in the clearing. They drifted gently, like floating stars. They were fireflies. One firefly floated down toward Sleepy Fox, glowing softly. "Hello," it chimed. "We are making leaf boats tonight. Would you like to make one?" "What are leaf boats for?" Sleepy Fox asked. "They carry sleepy wishes," the firefly said. "You place a wish on the leaf, and the river carries it safely through the night." Sleepy Fox liked that very much. He chose a broad green leaf and set it gently on the surface of the river. A firefly landed on it, making the leaf glow warmly. "Think of something that makes you feel safe and sleepy," the firefly whispered. Sleepy Fox closed his eyes and thought of his den, his moss bed, and the quiet comfort of curling up with his tail wrapped around him. When he opened his eyes, the tiny leaf boat glowed brighter. Then it drifted slowly away, carrying his sleepy wish with it. He watched until the boat became a faint speck of light, and then disappeared around a bend in the river. A slow, wide yawn stretched across his face. His eyelids felt heavier than before. He continued walking, the river beside him, the fireflies twinkling softly in the misty clearing. Up above, on a curved branch leaning over the river, a shape moved in the moonlight. Two big round eyes blinked slowly. It was Owl, the wise bird of the forest. "Good evening, Sleepy Fox," Owl hooted softly, his voice deep and calm, as if it had flown all the way from the stars. "Good evening, Owl," Sleepy Fox whispered back. "I couldn't fall asleep, so I came to walk beside the Moonlit River." Owl nodded, his feathers ruffling just a little. "You chose well. The Moonlit River knows how to carry away all the little worries that keep you awake." Sleepy Fox looked up at Owl. "Do you ever walk beside the river too?" "I don't walk," Owl said with a gentle blink, "but sometimes I sit on this branch and listen to the water. When my mind is busy with too many thoughts, I imagine dropping each thought into the river, like tiny pebbles. The river takes them away, and all that's left is quiet." Sleepy Fox liked that idea very much. He looked down at the moving water. He thought of one little worry he had. Nothing big, just a tiny thought that kept bouncing around inside his head. Gently, he imagined that thought turning into a small, smooth pebble in his paw. He leaned forward and let the pebble fall into the moonlit river. He watched the ripples spread, then fade, then disappear back into the smooth, glowing surface. The little worry went with the pebble, down the river, far away, until it was just gone. Sleepy Fox felt lighter now, like someone had untied a knot inside his chest. "Thank you, Owl," he whispered. "You're welcome," Owl hooted. "Keep walking, little fox. Let the river carry all your thoughts away. And if you get sleepy, that's perfectly all right." Owl closed his eyes and became still, a quiet, feathery shape against the moon. Section 4, Fireflies and Leaf Boats. Sleepy Fox padded on, step by step, the moonlit river always beside him. The night felt calmer now, and a soft breeze played with his fur. Up ahead, the trees opened into a clearing where the river widened just a little, enough to make a slow pool where the water barely seemed to move. On the far bank, tiny specks of light began to appear. One by one, then two by two, then many, many more. They flickered and drifted in the air like tiny, living stars. They were fireflies. One firefly floated closer, its light warm and gentle. "Hello, Sleepy Fox," it chimed in a tiny voice. "We're making leaf boats tonight. Would you like to make one too?" Sleepy Fox tilted his head. "What are leaf boats for?" "Leaf boats carry sleepy wishes," the firefly said. You place a wish or a happy thought on the leaf, and the moonlit river carries it gently through the night. Sleepy Fox looked around and saw small leaves floating on the river's surface, each one glowing faintly with a firefly resting on top. They drifted slowly, like patient little boats on a calm sea. "I'd like to make a leaf boat," Sleepy Fox said. He carefully chose a broad green leaf from the bank and placed it gently on the surface of the moonlit river. The leaf floated, waiting. A firefly landed softly on it, its light spilling over the edges. "Now, think of something that makes you feel safe and happy and sleepy," the firefly said. Sleepy Fox closed his eyes. He thought of his cozy den, his moss bed, the cool earth around him, the sound of the wind outside when he was tucked warm inside. He thought of soft paws, slow breathing, and the feeling of drifting toward dreams. When he opened his eyes, the leaf boat glowed brighter, full of his sleepy wish. "The river will look after that now," the firefly said. The leaf boat began to move, drifting along the moonlit river, carrying Sleepy Fox's safe, sleepy feeling through the night. He watched until it became just another tiny speck of light, then vanished around a bend. Sleepy Fox yawned a soft, slow yawn. His eyelids felt a little heavier. Sleepy Fox stepped out of his den and onto the cool forest floor. The moss beneath him felt soft and springy, and the fallen leaves made a gentle sh, sh, sh sound as he walked. The night air was cool against his whiskers, and the moonlight filtered between the branches like thin silver ribbons. He walked slowly, each paw coming down with quiet confidence. Above him, the moon shone like a soft lantern, lighting the way without ever being too bright. As he breathed in, he smelled pine needles, cool earth, and the faintest hint of wood smoke drifting from somewhere very far away. Another animal was already asleep by their fire, tucked safely into the evening. Step by step, Sleepy Fox padded toward the shimmering glow. The closer he came, the brighter the silver light became, until the trees opened slightly and revealed the moonlit river. Its surface moved like flowing glass, carrying moonlight gently downstream. The river whispered a soft shh as it passed, as if singing a nighttime lullaby made just for him. "Hello, Moonlit River," Sleepy Fox whispered, hardly believing how beautiful it was. The river answered with a slow, rolling wave that shimmered across the surface as though the water were nodding back to him. Sleepy Fox took a few slow steps along the riverbank. The grass grew thick and cool here, and the smell of water was fresh and calming. Each footstep was soft, each breath gentle. His paws looked as though they had been dipped in starlight, glowing faintly when the river reflected its silver light onto his fur. Above him, on a curved branch that leaned over the river, two round eyes blinked slowly. It was Owl, perched quietly in the moonlight, feathers smooth and still. "Good evening, Sleepy Fox," Owl said in a deep, calm voice. "Good evening, Owl," Sleepy Fox replied softly. "I couldn't fall asleep, so I came to walk beside the moonlit river." Owl nodded, his head tilting in a slow, thoughtful motion. "The moonlit river helps with that," he said. "When my mind is full of too many thoughts, I sit here and imagine dropping each one into the river like a tiny pebble. The river carries them away, and I am left with only the quiet." Sleepy Fox liked the sound of that. He looked down at the glowing water and thought of a small worry he had been holding. It wasn't important, just a tiny thought that kept bouncing around inside him. He imagined it turning into a smooth pebble in his paw. He leaned forward and let it fall into the water with the softest little plip. The ripples spread gently, then faded back into the moonlit surface. As the ripple disappeared, the worry disappeared with it, carried away down the glowing river. Sleepy Fox felt a little lighter, a little softer inside, as though someone had gently untied a knot in his chest. "Thank you, Owl," he whispered. "You're welcome," Owl replied. "Walk with the river, little fox. It will help you rest." Owl closed his eyes again and settled peacefully on his branch, while Sleepy Fox continued his quiet walk along the moonlit river. Up above, on a curved branch that leaned over the river, a shape moved in the moonlight. Two big round eyes blinked slowly. It was Owl, the wise bird of the forest. "Good evening, Sleepy Fox," Owl hooted softly, his voice deep and calm, as if it had drifted down from the stars. "Good evening, Owl," Sleepy Fox replied in a gentle whisper. "I couldn't fall asleep, so I came to walk beside the moonlit river." Owl nodded, ruffling his feathers just a little. "You chose well," he said. "The moonlit river knows how to carry away small thoughts that keep you awake." Sleepy Fox looked up at him. "Do you ever walk along the river too?" "I don't walk," Owl answered with a slow blink, "but sometimes I sit here and listen to the water. When my mind is full, I imagine dropping each thought into the river, like tiny pebbles. The river carries them away, and then all that's left is quiet." Sleepy Fox liked this idea very much. He looked down at the glowing water and thought of one tiny worry he had. Nothing big, just something that bounced around in his mind when he tried to sleep. He imagined it becoming a smooth little pebble in his paw. Then, leaning forward, he let the pebble fall into the moonlit river. It landed with a soft plip. Ripples moved outward in gentle circles, slow, smooth, then fading back into stillness. The little worry floated away with the ripples and disappeared downstream. Sleepy Fox felt lighter, as if someone had loosened a tiny knot inside his chest. "Thank you, Owl," he said softly. "You're welcome," Owl replied. "Keep walking, little fox. The river will take care of you." Owl closed his eyes again and became still, a feathery shape against the shining branch. Chapter 6: Fireflies and Leaf Boats. Sleepy Fox padded along the bank, the water always beside him. The night grew even calmer now, and small whispers of breeze brushed his fur. Ahead, the trees opened into a clearing where the river widened into a slow, quiet pool. Tiny spots of light began to appear on the far side of the clearing. One light, then two, then dozens, floating gently in the air like little stars that had drifted down from the sky. They were fireflies. One firefly drifted close to Sleepy Fox, glowing a warm yellow that flickered softly. "Hello, Sleepy Fox," it chimed. "We're making leaf boats tonight. Would you like to make one too?" Sleepy Fox tilted his head. "What are leaf boats for?" "They carry sleepy wishes," the firefly said, spinning in a slow loop. "You place a happy or peaceful thought on the leaf, and the moonlit river carries it gently into the night." Sleepy Fox looked around and saw small leaves floating on the water, each one glowing faintly because a firefly rested atop it. They drifted slowly, barely moving at all, like tiny boats on a quiet sea. "I'd like to make one," Sleepy Fox said. He found a broad green leaf near the bank. He placed it carefully on the surface of the water. A firefly settled on it, lighting it up from above. "Now think of something that feels warm and safe," the firefly whispered. Sleepy Fox closed his eyes and thought of his cozy den, the softness of moss beneath him, the feeling of curling his tail around himself, warm and snug. He thought of drifting toward dreams. When he opened his eyes, the leaf boat seemed to glow a little brighter, filled with his sleepy wish. The leaf started moving, slowly drifting across the moonlit river, carrying his wish away. Sleepy Fox watched until it became a tiny dot of light on the water, then vanished behind a bend. He yawned again, a big, slow, comfortable yawn. His eyelids felt heavier. Sleepy Fox watched the last small ripple fade into the glowing water. The forest felt even quieter now, as if it were holding its breath just to listen to the river. He lowered his head in a tiny nod toward Owl, and then continued padding slowly along the bank, his paws sinking gently into the cool earth. The moonlit river flowed beside him like a silver ribbon, unfurling through the trees. The light on its surface shifted with every step he took, glimmering softly, never rushing, never loud. Every time Sleepy Fox blinked, his eyes opened a little slower, as if they were enjoying resting in the darkness behind his eyelids. The path curved slightly, and the trees parted just enough to let the moonlight spill onto a small clearing. The air there felt cooler, touched by the breath of the river. Tiny motes of moisture shimmered in the night, almost like the river had blown a soft mist across the grass. As he stepped into the clearing, something warm flickered on the far side of the water, small golden lights drifting lazily above the grass. They rose and fell in slow dances, never hurrying, never shining too brightly. Fireflies, dozens of them, glowing like tiny lanterns floating in the air. One drifted closer to him, circling gently around his ears before settling on a low branch. Its glow was soft and steady, and its small wings made hardly any sound at all. The firefly seemed to watch him for a moment, its warm light moving slowly with each little breath it took. "We're sending wishes on the water tonight," the firefly said in a tiny, tinkling voice. Sleepy Fox tilted his head with curiosity, feeling his tiredness mixing with wonder. "Wishes?" he asked softly. The firefly nodded, drifting down toward a small cluster of leaves gathered at the river's edge. Each leaf was broad and smooth, perfect for floating. Slipping forward, the firefly touched one with its light, and the leaf glowed faintly in return. "When someone has a gentle thought they want to keep safe," it explained, "they place it on a leaf, and the moonlit river carries it carefully through the night." Sleepy Fox looked at the leaves, thinking of how peaceful he felt walking along the river. He imagined his favorite moments of bedtime, curling into his moss bed, tucking his tail around himself, listening to the quiet sounds of night. These thoughts rose in him like warm air rising from a cozy fire. He chose a leaf and placed it gently on the edge of the water. It rocked softly, waiting. The firefly drifted down and rested on it, adding its warm glow to the leaf. Sleepy Fox breathed in slowly and let his sleepy wish settle into the tiny boat. The leaf began to drift. It moved with the slowest of currents, gliding away from him. Sleepy Fox watched it until it became a tiny dot of yellow on silver water, then disappeared around a bend. A long, gentle yawn escaped him. His tail drooped behind him as he continued onward, feeling the weight of his body growing softer, heavier, more relaxed. He walked until the grass grew thick and damp beneath him. The air cooled slightly, and a light mist began to rise from the water, curling around the trunks of the trees like soft ribbons. Through the mist, a tall, slender shape appeared at the riverbank. Big, gentle eyes looked up from the glowing water. It was Deer. She stood quiet and still, the mist drifting around her like a soft blanket. Her breath came in slow puffs, and when she blinked, it was the slow, sleepy blink of someone who knows the forest well. "Good evening, little fox," she murmured in a voice as soft as brushing leaves. "The river is calm tonight." Sleepy Fox nodded and moved closer, feeling no fear. Deer had always been kind. I couldn't sleep, he whispered, so I'm walking beside the moonlit river. It's helping me feel more peaceful. Deer lowered her head thoughtfully. The river does that, she said. When I need rest, I listen for the quiet sounds around me. They make my mind soft, and sleep comes easily. Sleepy Fox closed his eyes and listened as Deer suggested. He heard the tiny sounds around him, the faint drip of water from a leaf, the gentle whisper of the mist, the steady beat of his own breath. He felt the quiet settling over him like a warm blanket. When he opened his eyes again, he noticed his paws felt warmer, heavier. The world looked softer somehow, like the edges of everything had blurred. Deer smiled at him, slow and peaceful. Your body knows, she whispered. It's almost time to rest. Sleepy Fox took a slow breath in, the cool forest air filling his chest. As he exhaled, he felt even more stillness settle inside him, like the whole world was sighing with him. Deer lowered her head in a small nod, the mist curling softly around her legs. Sleepy Fox continued walking along the moonlit river. The glow of the water shimmered beside him, spreading silver light onto the grass and leaves. The mist thickened just a little, making the world feel dreamy and close, like a soft cocoon wrapped around the forest. The further he walked, the quieter everything became. Even the gentle chorus of night insects had softened into a barely there hum. Sleepy Fox's ears twitched as he listened for the tiny sounds Deer had taught him to notice. Little drips of water sliding from fern tips, the distant flutter of a bat's wings, the faint rustle of reeds swaying near the riverbank. Each sound felt like a lullaby. His paws sank into the cool earth, leaving small, neat prints behind him. The ground grew softer still, as if the river's glow had warmed the soil and made it melt gently underfoot. Every step made Sleepy Fox feel heavier in the nicest way. Not tired from walking, but tired in the cozy bedtime sense, when your whole body just wants to curl up and rest. He blinked slowly. The trees along the river seemed to sway ever so slightly, even though there was no breeze. Leaves glimmered with tiny drops of moonlight that clung to them like pearls. Ahead, the river widened again, forming a smooth pool where the water looked still enough to sleep on. It reflected the moon so perfectly that it seemed like a whole other sky lay beneath the surface. Sleepy Fox walked to the edge and gazed down at his reflection. His face looked soft and round, his eyes half closed, and the silver glow made his fur look like it had been brushed with starlight. He dipped his paw gently into the water. The ripples moved slow and wide, spreading outward like circles of calm. He watched them drift away until they softened and blended back. Sleepy Fox took a slow breath in, the cool forest air filling his chest. As he exhaled, he felt even more stillness settle inside him, like the whole world was sighing with him. Deer lowered her head in a small nod, the mist curling softly around her legs. Sleepy Fox continued walking along the moonlit river. The glow of the water shimmered beside him, spreading silver light onto the grass and leaves. The mist thickened just a little, making the world feel dreamy and close, like a soft cocoon wrapped around the forest. The further he walked, the quieter everything became. Even the gentle chorus of night insects had softened into a barely there hum. Sleepy Fox's ears twitched as he listened for the tiny sounds Deer had taught him to notice. Little drips of water sliding from fern tips, the distant flutter of a bat's wings, the faint rustle of reeds swaying near the riverbank. Each sound felt like a lullaby. His paws sank into the cool earth, leaving small, neat prints behind him. The ground grew softer still, as if the river's glow had warmed the soil and made it melt gently underfoot. Every step made Sleepy Fox feel heavier in the nicest way. Not tired from walking, but tired in the cozy bedtime sense, when your whole body just wants to curl up and rest. He blinked slowly. The trees along the river seemed to sway ever so slightly, even though there was no breeze. Leaves glimmered with tiny drops of moonlight that clung to them like pearls. Ahead, the river widened again, forming a smooth pool where the water looked still enough to sleep on. It reflected the moon so perfectly that it seemed like a whole other sky lay beneath the surface. Sleepy Fox walked to the edge and gazed down at his reflection. His face looked soft and round, his eyes half closed, and the silver glow made his fur look like it had been brushed with starlight. He dipped his paw gently into the water. The ripples moved slow and wide, spreading outward like circles of calm. He watched them drift away until they softened and blended back into the glassy surface. A deep, warm heaviness settled into his shoulders. His breaths had become slow without him noticing. Even the thoughts in his mind were drifting further apart, like tiny boats on a big, quiet lake. He let out a long, deep yawn that curled through the mist. The river answered with a soft wave that lapped at the shore, as if it were yawning back. Sleepy Fox watched as Deer faded gently back into the mist, her calm presence lingering in the air like a soft echo. He took a slow breath, letting the cool night fill his chest, and then released it just as slowly. Everything around him felt quieter now, quieter than it had all night. The moonlit river moved steadily beside him, its glow rippling like silver threads being woven into the darkness. He took a small step forward, then another. The grass beneath his paws felt softer than before, almost like it was welcoming him. Each blade bent kindly under his weight, springing back up behind him with a gentle whisper. Fireflies flickered in the distance, tiny lanterns drifting lazily over the water. Some floated close enough that their warm light brushed against his fur for a moment, before drifting on again. The mist thickened ahead, swirling low to the ground. Sleepy Fox walked into it, and it wrapped around him like a cool, gentle hug. He could taste the faint sweetness of river water in the air. Every sound was muted, his paws, the river, the breeze. Everything sounded far away but comforting, as if the whole forest were trying not to wake anyone who might already be sleeping. As he walked deeper into the mist, the world around him changed. Trees stood like quiet shadows, their leaves blending into the fog. The moonlit river glowed brighter here, its surface smooth and glass-like. Sleepy Fox leaned closer, peering into the water. Instead of seeing only his reflection, he saw tiny shapes drifting beneath the surface, shimmering outlines of leaves, soft currents glowing like streams of starlight, little sparks that flickered and danced like underwater fireflies. It didn't feel strange or surprising. It simply felt peaceful, as though the river was showing him how dreams look before they floated away. Sleepy Fox continued on, moving slowly, calmly, each step quieter than the last. His eyelids felt heavy, but not in a way that made him unsteady. It was the kind of heaviness that felt comforting, the kind that said, "You're doing just fine. Keep going. Rest is coming." Further along the riverbank, the mist began to thin. He stepped out of it and into a small clearing soaked with silver light. The grass here was shorter, softer, and the earth dipped gently toward the water's edge, forming a natural cradle in the ground. He could see patches of soft moss glowing faintly, catching the river's reflection. A soft wind blew across the clearing, carrying the scent of wildflowers, delicate, sweet, and sleepy. Their petals were closed for the night, curled in like tiny blankets. Sleepy Fox felt his body loosen, his muscles sinking deeper into calm. This place felt right, almost perfect. But the river called him just a little farther, so he kept going. Ahead, the river bent gently to the right, and in the curve of that bend, Sleepy Fox found something magical. Small stones lined the bank, smooth and round, warmed by the day's sun and cooled by the river's breath. They shimmered with faint silver speckles, as if the stars themselves had sprinkled dust over them. Sleepy Fox touched one with his paw. It was cool on the outside, warm just beneath the surface, a perfect bedtime feeling, like slipping under a soft blanket that has held a little warmth from earlier in the evening. He stepped onto the stone, then another, then another. They formed a small path that led to a quiet patch of ground tucked against the curve of the river. The grass here was thick like feathers, and the earth felt soft, shaped as though many sleepy animals had rested here before him. The air was warmer too, sheltered by the bend, and the river's song sounded softer, a lulled murmur that wrapped around his tired body. Sleepy Fox turned once, then twice, then a third time, feeling the ground shape itself beneath his paws. He lowered himself slowly into the grass, curling into a gentle ball. His tail curved around him like a white-tipped blanket, snug and warm. The moonlit river glowed steadily beside him, sending ripples of silver light across his fur. Sleepy Fox rested his cheek on the grass and gazed at the water. The fireflies drifted by in slow arcs, their lights dimming as they settled for the night. Even the breeze seemed to quiet, becoming nothing more than a barely there sigh. Everything felt still, safe, dreamy. Sleepy Fox closed his eyes. He could still hear the river beside him, whispering its soft song. It sounded like the forest was humming him to sleep. It sounded like the night was tucking him in. It sounded like everything was slowing, softening, settling. His breathing matched the rhythm of the water. In, softly, out, even softer. Sleep crept closer with every breath. The world around him blurred gently into warmth and shadow. His paws grew heavier, his ears relaxed, his tail softened around him. His mind drifted like a leaf boat, floating, floating, carried by the moonlit river into the land of dreams. Sleepy Fox gave a tiny nod, the motion so small and slow, it was almost like his head drifted on its own. The mist curled gently around his legs, cool and soft, like folded clouds brushing past. He blinked once, very slowly, and the world seemed to exhale with him. He felt the gentle breeze moving through the trees, carrying the delicate scent of damp moss and night flowers. The breeze wasn't cold. It was the kind of breeze that felt like it knew your name and wanted only to lull you deeper into comfort. Sleepy Fox breathed it in, and his chest rose and fell with such softness that even the river seemed to hush itself to match him. He began walking again, not because he meant to, but because his feet seemed to carry him forward all on their own, steady and slow. Each step felt like it pressed him deeper into the calm of the night. The glow of the moonlit river rippled beside him, matching the steady rhythm of his breath. The path was smooth here, worn down by countless creatures who had walked it gently before him. He felt connected to all of them, every rabbit, every bird, every deer, every creature who had ever wandered here in quiet search of peace. The forest canopy thinned, and for a moment the moon shone directly on him. The light pooled across his back, like warm milk poured gently from the sky. Sleepy Fox paused, letting the glow soak into his fur. His eyelids dropped halfway again. His tail curled around his feet. For a moment, he simply stood in the moonbeam, breathing softly, feeling as though time had slowed just enough to match the drowsy rhythm of his body. As he stepped out of the light, the silver shimmer stayed with him, clinging to his fur in tiny glints, as though he carried pieces of the moon with him. The river widened here, stretching into a quiet, glassy pool, so still that the reflection of the sky looked like a second world beneath the water's surface. The stars shimmered both above him and below him, creating a gentle tunnel of light. He moved closer, lowering his head until his nose hovered just above the glowing surface. The water smelled clean and faintly sweet, like the memory of rain. He didn't drink. He was not thirsty, but he watched how the ripples followed even the smallest movements he made. Each ripple drifted outward in perfect circles, soft and slow, as if they too were reluctant to disturb the night. Sleepy Fox lifted his gaze and saw tiny shapes floating on the water. A few leaf boats still drifted lazily, carrying the small wishes the fireflies had helped place. Some glowed faintly with warm yellow light. Others shimmered silver and blue. One boat carried the softest shade of green, so pale it was almost white. He wondered about the animals who had made them and what soft thoughts they had whispered into the leaves before setting them afloat. He walked beside the pool, his steps becoming smaller, slower. His paws felt heavy now. Not uncomfortably so, just the way they feel when a creature knows it will soon curl up and rest. He yawned again, and this yawn was the slowest yet, his jaw dropping in a long, stretching arc before closing gently. The path curved around a smooth stone outcrop where the moss grew particularly thick and deep. The moss here was as soft as a down blanket, and it glowed faintly with the reflected light of the river. Sleepy Fox brushed his paw over it, feeling the delicate fibers yield beneath him. It felt almost like touching a dream. He knew in his small, sleepy heart that he was close to finding the perfect place to rest. A few steps more, and the forest opened into a tiny clearing where the grass grew long and wild, waving lazily in the light breeze. The moonlight fell here in soft patches, shifting gently as clouds drifted across the sky. The air was warmer in this clearing, as though the earth itself held on to the softness of the day. Sleepy Fox took one slow lap around the clearing, sniffing the air, letting the calm settle deeper into him. Then he noticed a small rise in the ground, a shallow, curved hollow, lined with velvety moss and surrounded by low ferns that swayed protectively around its edges. It looked as though the forest had shaped it just for him. He padded toward it, placing each paw down with the gentlest touch. When he reached the hollow, he stepped inside and felt his body soften immediately. The moss held him like a soft cradle, shaping itself to his small frame. He turned once, twice, 3 times, his tail brushing over the ferns each time. Then he curled into a tight, warm circle. He rested his head on his forelegs, his tail wrapped around him fully, covering his paws like a blanket stitched from softness and moonlight. He could feel the steady heartbeat of the earth beneath him, slow and comforting. The moonlit river whispered nearby, the sound drifting into the clearing like a lullaby. It was a gentle, rhythmic hush, like someone soothing a child. Sleepy Fox felt the sound seep into him, smoothing out every last ripple of wakefulness. The stars above him twinkled softly. The fireflies drifted through the clearing in slow, sleepy arcs, their warm lights dimming as if they too were preparing for rest. Even the breeze slowed, and the world seemed to settle around him like a peaceful sigh. He closed his eyes, and the darkness behind his eyelids was warm and full of soft shapes. He breathed in gently, then out. In, and out, each breath slower than the last. His thoughts drifted like leaf boats, floating gently down the river of his mind, moving farther and farther away, until they were only faint echoes in the night. He watched them go without chasing them. It felt natural, peaceful, right. A soft hum radiated through his body, the kind of hum that comes just before sleep. He felt himself slipping, drifting, floating. The edges of the clearing blurred. The moonlight melted into soft shades. The night wrapped him in a blanket of calm. Sleepy Fox felt safe. He felt warm. He felt loved by the forest. His last waking thought was a tiny, contented whisper inside him. It's time to rest. And then, without even noticing the moment it happened, Sleepy Fox drifted into dreams. The moonlit river flowed quietly, carrying leaf boats and sleepy wishes downstream, watching over the forest as every creature settled into peaceful slumber. The night held its breath, gentle and still, wrapping itself around the small fox who slept curled in the moss. And the world, soft and silver, watched him dream. Sleepy Fox watched as Deer slowly faded back into the mist, her soft shape dissolving into the silver glow of the moonlit river. The mist curled gently around the trees, drifting like a quiet breath through the night. Sleepy Fox stood still for a moment, letting the silence settle. The world felt softer, quieter, as if the whole forest was preparing for sleep. He took another slow step along the riverbank. The moss beneath his paws felt even thicker now, almost like a warm rug laid out just for him. The cool night air brushed his fur in a gentle way, circling around him like a calm friend. The moonlit river continued to flow beside him, its smooth surface sliding past without a ripple. The glowing water cast gentle shifting patterns on the leaves and branches. Every now and then, a firefly drifted through the air, its calm yellow light bobbing like a tiny lantern. Sleepy Fox breathed in the fresh night air. It smelled of pine needles, soft earth, and the faint sweetness of blooming night flowers, hidden somewhere nearby. With each breath, he felt his body growing heavier and warmer, as though the forest itself was encouraging him to rest. Far ahead, the path curved slightly, where the river widened again into a small pool. Sleepy Fox padded closer, his steps slow and quiet. The water here was so still that the reflection of the moon looked like a silver coin resting on the surface. Nearby, long reeds swayed, making a soft rustling sound that blended with the river's quiet murmuring. Sleepy Fox sat down for a moment at the edge of the pool. His tail curled naturally around his paws. He watched the gentle movement of the reeds and let his gaze soften. He didn't have to think. He didn't have to decide anything. The night seemed to hold everything for him. As he gazed into the water, something glowed softly beneath the surface. At first, he thought it was another reflection, but then the glow began to drift upward, slow and calm. A moment later, a tiny glowing fish rose into view, its scales shimmering like tiny bits of moonlight. The fish swirled gently, its movements smooth and peaceful, as though it was dancing through the water without any effort. Sleepy Fox smiled softly. He didn't know fish could glow like that. The fish circled once, leaving a swirl of gentle light behind it, then floated close to the surface. The fish seemed to look up at him, its little eyes bright and kind. "Hello," Sleepy Fox whispered, afraid that speaking too loudly might break the calmness of the moment. The glowing fish made a slow circle, as if answering him in its own language. It swam closer to the bank, just near Sleepy Fox's paws. Sleepy Fox leaned in. "Do you live in the Moonlit River?" The fish dipped its head, a tiny nod. and another soft glow pulsed through its scales. Sleepy Fox felt the warmth of the light touch his face like a soft brush of air. "You move so quietly," Sleepy Fox said. "You must always feel peaceful." The fish drifted backward, swirling again, leaving a trail of silver light that slowly faded into the water. The light took on shapes, soft curves, long paths, like the fish was showing him something. Sleepy Fox watched the patterns. The shapes reminded him of waves, then of leaves floating on the surface, then of something even gentler, the feeling of drifting into a dream. He blinked once, then twice, and his eyes grew heavier. The glowing fish pulsed once more with warm light, then dipped beneath the surface again, leaving Sleepy Fox with a feeling of calm that spread from his paws to the tip of his tail. He stood up again and walked onward. His steps felt slower now, not tired in a difficult way, but in a peaceful, sinking into comfort sort of way. His tail brushed lightly behind him, moving with the rhythm of his steps. The forest around him fell even quieter. The crickets had softened their song. The wind had become a gentle hush. The sound of the moonlit river filled the night like a soft lullaby. Further along the bank, Sleepy Fox spotted a familiar shape perched on a cluster of stones. Tortoise. Tortoise was older than anyone else in the forest. His shell was rounded and smooth from years of gentle journeys, and his eyes always looked calm, as if he carried quiet inside him. Tortoise raised his head slowly as Sleepy Fox approached. "Hello, little fox," he said, his voice low and warm. "You're out very late tonight." Sleepy Fox sat beside him. "I couldn't sleep. I've been walking along the Moonlit River." Tortoise nodded, blinking slowly. "This river has a way of soothing those who wander beside it. When I was young, I often walked here when my mind felt too full." Sleepy Fox tilted his head. "Did it help you feel sleepy?" "It helped me feel lighter," Tortoise replied. "Sometimes when we wander, it's not the walking that brings rest. It's what the river teaches us." Sleepy Fox looked at the glowing water. "What does it teach?" Tortoise leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice as though sharing a secret. "It teaches you how to slow down. The river never rushes, even though it is always moving. Its journey is calm. It flows without worry. If you listen to the river, you'll start to feel the same." Sleepy Fox listened. The moonlit river flowed with a steady hush, each moment blending into the next. The sound didn't change. It didn't hurry. It matched the rhythm of his breathing. Sleepy Fox breathed in. The river whispered. Sleepy Fox breathed out. The river whispered again. He felt the rhythm settle inside him, like the two of them were breathing together. Tortoise closed his eyes halfway, the corners wrinkling into a small smile. "There," he said softly. "You're beginning to feel it." Sleepy Fox curled his tail around his paws again, feeling warmth beginning to pool inside his chest. The world around him seemed softer. The stars above were gentle, the trees still, and the moonlight draped over everything like a silver blanket. "Thank you, Tortoise," Sleepy Fox said, his voice drifting. Tortoise nodded once, very slowly. "Rest well, little one. The forest is watching over you." Sleepy Fox continued his journey, walking along the river's slow and winding path. Each step felt quieter, calmer, softer. His ears drooped slightly, a sign that sleep was drawing near. The night wrapped around him with its peaceful glow. Soon, he reached a part of the forest he had never seen before. The trees here were wide and tall, their branches arching over the river like a great wooden tunnel. Moonlight filtered through the leaves, scattering silver patterns across the ground. As he walked under the arching branches, The air grew warmer. Fireflies drifted between the trees in slow, sleepy loops. Some landed on the branches above, their tiny lights flickering like distant stars caught in the leaves. Others floated past Sleepy Fox, their warm glow brushing his fur. At the far end of the natural tunnel, Sleepy Fox saw a shape resting on a fallen log. It was Rabbit, small and quiet, with long ears that drooped gently as he breathed. Rabbit lifted his head when Sleepy Fox approached. His eyes were half closed, his voice soft. "Hello, Sleepy Fox. You're out very late." "I couldn't sleep," Sleepy Fox whispered. "I've been walking along the Moonlit River. It's helping me feel calm." Rabbit nodded slowly. "It helps me too. When I listen to the river, I feel my heartbeat slow down. I feel like the night is hugging me." Sleepy Fox sat down beside Rabbit on the log. They both looked at the glowing water flowing beside them. "Sometimes," Rabbit continued, "I like to imagine the river carrying all the day's noises away. The busy rustling, the sudden sounds, the things that make my ears twitch. The river gathers them up and takes them far away." Sleepy Fox listened to the river. It did sound like it could carry anything away. Worries, thoughts, noises, letting only quiet remain. Rabbit's voice faded into a soft hum. Sleepy Fox felt his own eyes growing heavier. His breathing slowed again. The warmth from earlier spread through his belly, into his chest, into his paws. After a long moment sitting beside Rabbit, Sleepy Fox stood and continued walking. The river stayed beside him, guiding him gently forward. He walked through more mist, past more glowing reeds, until he reached a familiar curve in the path. This was the place where he had found the perfect spot to rest earlier. The hollow in the earth still looked warm and inviting. The smooth rock still held the memory of the day's sun. The grass was soft, untouched, waiting for him. Sleepy Fox stepped into the hollow and circled slowly 3 times. The grass wrapped around him like the softest bedding. He curled into a tight, warm ball, tucking his nose under his tail. The moonlit river whispered nearby, and its glow washed over him like a gentle sigh. His breath softened. His body grew heavier. His eyes fluttered closed. The last thing he felt was the warmth of the rock at his back and the soft song of the river drifting through the leaves. And then Sleepy Fox finally drifted into dreams. Sleepy Fox gave Deer a small, grateful nod and continued walking along the bank. The moonlit river flowed gently beside him, its silver glow trembling softly on the water's surface. The mist drifted in slow ribbons between the trees, twirling around his fur like a soft, sleepy scarf. Every step he took felt quieter than the one before, as though the forest itself were cushioning his paws. He followed the curve of the river until the trees opened into a wide, moonlit meadow. The grass here was tall and feathery, bending in slow motion as the night breeze passed through. Each blade caught a sliver of moonlight, turning the field into a shimmering sea of silver and pale green. The sight made Sleepy Fox's heart feel warm and calm, as if someone had wrapped him in a gentle hug from the inside. He padded slowly through the grass, each movement slow and soft. The ground was warm here, warmed by the day's sunlight and held gently through the night by the earth. Sleepy Fox could feel that warmth rising through his paws, into his legs, into his belly. It made his whole body feel heavy in a comforting way, as though the earth was inviting him to lie down and rest. At the far end of the meadow, he found a cluster of smooth stones nestled beside the water. The stones were large enough for him to climb, and they gave off a soft heat that felt soothing against his paws. He stepped onto the smallest stone and sat down, letting his legs dangle lazily over the edge. The moonlit river widened here, becoming a calm, glassy pool, surrounded by reeds and float in lily pads. The moon reflected perfectly in the still water, and for a moment, Sleepy Fox felt as though he were looking up at the sky and down at it at the same time. The reflection shimmered as a frog hopped gently onto a lily pad, its tiny movement sending slow ripples outward. The frog blinked once, very slowly, then twice. Finally, it looked up at Sleepy Fox and offered the smallest nod, as if saying hello in its quiet, froggy way. Sleepy Fox smiled softly and nodded back. The frog seemed satisfied, settling itself onto its pad and closing its eyes, becoming still as a painted stone. Sleepy Fox breathed in the cool, moist air and let his body relax even more. A few fireflies drifted past, their lights glowing warmly. They spiraled around him, leaving soft trails of gold in the night air. He watched them with gentle wonder as they floated toward the reeds, settling like tiny lanterns among the plants. The longer he sat, the more peaceful he felt. His thoughts moved slowly, like they were wading through warm, shallow water. He found it hard to remember what had kept him awake earlier. The worries that once felt sharp now seemed soft and rounded, smoothed out by the night. A gentle rustling came from the tall reeds on the far side of the pool. It wasn't alarming or sudden, just a very slow, swaying sound, like something moving through the grass with no hurry at all. Sleepy Fox lifted his head slightly, though his eyelids felt heavy and low. A shape emerged from the reeds, soft and round and glowing faintly in the moonlight. It was Badger, his fur brushed with silver from the river's reflection. He moved slowly, each step careful and grounded, as though he were trying not to disturb the night. "Hello there," Badger murmured, his voice deep and gentle, like a soft drum echoing through the earth. "Couldn't sleep, little fox?" Sleepy Fox shook his head in a very slow motion. "No, but I think the river is helping." Badger nodded knowingly. "The Moonlit River helps everyone who listens to it. I come here myself when my thoughts won't settle." He lowered himself onto a flat stone nearby, letting out a small sigh as he sank into its warmth. "Sometimes," Badger continued, "I walk beside the river until I feel the quiet reach my pores. Other times, I just sit here and let the world move slowly around me." Sleepy Fox watched him settle, his movements unhurried, almost sleepy themselves. Being near Badger made the world feel even safer. There was something steady about him, something grounding. Badger closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, letting the night fill his chest before releasing it again in a long, slow breath. "The river has a way of reminding us that everything moves at its own pace," he said. "There's no need to rush. Sleep comes when it's ready." Sleepy Fox blinked slowly. He didn't feel rushed, not at all. The night was patient, the river was patient, and he felt patient too. Badger dipped a paw into the water. The ripples spread, small at first, then growing wider, eventually fading back into stillness. "See how the ripples soften?" Badger whispered. "Problems do that too. Worries, thoughts, questions. They all fade when you let them. You don't have to make them disappear, just let them drift." Sleepy Fox lowered his head, watching the water mirror the moonlight. He felt the ripples in his own thoughts smoothing out. His breathing grew slower again, deeper, softer. The mist drifted across the water and curled around Sleepy Fox's paws, cool and soft like morning fog. He watched it drift away again, disappearing into the grasses. Badger yawned, a long, deep, rolling yawn that made Sleepy Fox's own jaw tingle with the urge to yawn too. He did, stretching his little mouth wide and feeling his ears gently twitch with the motion. His eyes fluttered drowsily. "You're getting close," Badger murmured with a smile. Your body is slowing down. Your mind is slowing down. Just keep listening to the river. The moonlit river hummed quietly, a low whisper of water sliding over stone. Sleepy Fox let the sound fill his ears, each gentle rush smoothing his thoughts like a hand stroking soft fur. A breeze brushed through the meadow then, carrying the warm scent of moss and reeds. Sleepy Fox breathed it in, and it wrapped around him like a soft blanket. He felt Badger's steady presence beside him, the frog dozing on its lily pad, the fireflies glowing softly. The night was full of friends, full of safety, full of quiet. Sleepy Fox stretched his front paws forward, then tucked them in close again, curling his tail tighter around his body. His fur brushed the warm surface of the stone as he shifted slightly to get comfortable. His eyelids felt like they were drifting down on their own, slower and heavier with every blink. "Follow the river," Badger whispered, his voice now barely above the sound of the water. "It will show you where to rest." The moonlit river shimmered again, and Sleepy Fox felt a warm, gentle tug in his chest, an instinct, a knowing. The river wasn't telling him where to sleep. It was showing him how to feel sleepy. And he did. Oh, he did. Slowly, he slipped down from the stone and padded along the riverbank once more. The grass brushed softly against his legs. The moonlit reflection wavered gently on the water's surface, making the whole world seem like it was swaying in a soft lullaby. The deeper he walked into the meadow, the softer and quieter everything became. The forest sounds seemed to grow more distant, muffled, like they were wrapped in cotton. Even the river's whisper seemed hushed, as if trying not to wake the stars. The path began to slope gently downward. Sleepy Fox followed it until he reached a small, sheltered hollow tucked beneath a willow tree. The tree's long, delicate branches hung low, forming a natural curtain of leaves that swayed in the light breeze. The ground beneath the willow was covered in soft moss, thick and plush like a green pillow. Moonlight slipped through the branches in thin silver lines, painting the moss in glowing patterns. Sleepy Fox stepped inside the willow's curtain. The air felt warmer here, wrapped in the tree's quiet embrace. The sounds of the night softened even further. The river's whisper was now a faint hush, a gentle lull. He circled the mossy patch 3 times, each circle slower than the last. His paws sank into the softness. His body felt heavier with every step. Finally, he curled up, tucking his tail over his nose, feeling the moss cradle him like a bed made just for him. A firefly drifted in through the willow branches and settled on a leaf above him, casting a soft golden glow over his body. Sleepy Fox watched it flicker lazily, its light pulsing like a slow heartbeat. His own heartbeat matched the rhythm, slow and steady. His breathing settled into a deep, gentle pattern. His thoughts drifted like the leaf boats the fireflies had made. Sleepy Fox felt the night wrap around him, warm and protective. The willow branches swayed, whispering soft lullabies he could barely hear. The moonlit river continued flowing just beyond the willow, carrying his worries, his thoughts, his little pebbles, and his sleepy wishes far downstream. Sleepy Fox's eyes grew heavy, so heavy they couldn't stay open any longer. They fluttered shut, softly, peacefully. The last thing he felt before sleep took him was the cool breeze brushing his fur, and the warm moss beneath him, holding him gently in place. Then, in the quietest moment of the night, Sleepy Fox drifted into a deep, peaceful dream, surrounded by moonlight, river whispers, and the soft glow of fireflies. The moonlit river flowed steadily beside Sleepy Fox as he curled deeper into the soft grass. The gentle glow from the water spread across the clearing like a calm silver blanket, touching the tips of the grass, the rounded stone behind him, and the soft fur along his back. He felt the warmth of the stone and the coolness of the night settle together in a perfect balance that made his whole body relax. His tail wrapped snugly around him, the way he liked it best, warm and protective. Each breath he took was slower than the last, rising and falling in a peaceful rhythm. The night felt hushed, as though the entire forest had paused to watch over him. He could sense the trees standing tall around him, steady and comforting, the sky high above, scattered with stars, and the quiet, constant river moving along at its own unhurried pace. Sleepy Fox let his eyes drift half closed. The grass tickled gently against his cheek. He could still hear the faint whisper of the wind weaving its way between the branches, carrying with it the softest hints of pine and earth. Every now and then, a tiny droplet would fall from a leaf into the river with a quiet plip, so delicate it felt like part of a dream. The moonlit river made its soft sh-sh-sh sound, the same steady lullaby it had been singing all night. Sleepy Fox felt that sound moving through him, calming every little part of him it touched. It soothed his paws first, then his legs, loosening the last bits of tension until they lay heavy and still in the grass. Then it moved through his belly and his chest, slowing his breathing even more, turning each inhale into a cool, gentle wave, and each exhale into a warm, slow sigh. His ears, which had twitched now and then at the night's tiniest noises, finally relaxed completely, drooping into their soft, sleepy positions. His whiskers barely moved now. His eyelids, warm and heavy, drifted lower and lower until they hovered in the quiet place between waking and sleep. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called once more, a deep, calm sound that echoed softly through the trees. Sleepy Fox didn't lift his head this time. He simply let the sound drift past him like a passing cloud. The forest was full of familiar voices tonight, all slow and reassuring. He felt safe. He felt warm. He felt so tired. As the moon climbed higher, its gentle light wrapped around Sleepy Fox like a second blanket. He imagined the moon smiling at him, kind and watchful. The fireflies from earlier flickered faintly in the distance, their tiny lights bobbing like sleepy stars that had drifted down to rest among the trees. His thoughts grew softer, quieter, lighter. They floated like little leaf boats on the surface of the moonlit river, drifting further and further away until they blended into the silver glow. Sleepy Fox's breaths became almost too soft to hear. His body felt heavy in the nicest way, the way that comes only when a long night has wrapped itself around you gently and invited you to let go. The grass beneath him, the warmth behind him, the cool night air, and the soft glow of the river all cradled him like a nest. His eyes finally closed fully. The darkness behind his eyelids was not empty but warm, cozy, full of soft shapes and colors that stretched and blended together like a dream already beginning. The moonlit river continued its song, calm and constant. Sleepy Fox exhaled one last slow breath, his whole body melting into stillness. His tail relaxed, his paws loosened, his ears settled. And then, at last, he drifted peacefully into sleep, deep, gentle, dream-filled sleep, while the moonlit river glowed beside him, watching over him through the rest of the night. The stars shone down on the little fox. The moonlight shimmered across the water, and the forest whispered its good night. "Sleep well, little fox. Sleep well."